Before there was Black Mirror, there was the Twilight Zone. And my boy Jordan Peele decided to bring it back for the new millennium. But how does it stack up to the original? Well, let's talk about it. I'm DJ Wild.
I'm Calvin AG.
What you doing, yo?
Nothing. Just chilling.
Word up, word up.
You know I do way better than you. You know I do.
We curse a fucking lot.
It's been a long time.
Put a flower in your pocket. If you see them, boy, you drop it and you run.
What have you done? There's no need to rush. If you done nothing wrong, I should just pass you by.
Now, CBS Access debuted the show on April 1st with 2 episodes, the first one being an hour-long premiere, the other one being about 37 minutes. So I'm assuming that's around the range where most of these episodes are going to be, kind of like your Black Mirror. You know what I'm saying? It kind of did feel like I was watching the Twilight Zone, but with that Black Mirror edge, with all the cursing and the things like that. So I was a little like, whoa, at first. Yeah. But then, you know, you get used to that real quickly. So that's not really a...
I would say the one main key difference between the two is Black Mirror, while both are definitely like things that would not happen in our reality today.
Right.
Black Mirror has more of a technological spin to it, where it's like there's always some kind of technology behind it. Right. Supernatural as it may be, or otherworldly as it may be, the technology is usually there. Where this was really based on like the otherworldly, like just kind of unexplainable aspects.
Yeah, the other dimension.
The other dimensions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Now we have 2 episodes here. Now, between the 2 episodes, the first one, the comedian, I liked better than the second one because I felt like the second one about Nightmare at 30,000 Feet, which, by the way, I don't know if you know this, is a remake.
Oh, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Yeah, because from season 5, episode 3.
Yep. Which I haven't watched, so I can't speak on it. I do appreciate the idea of the first one, where it's that idea of, okay, what would you really do for fame? What would you ultimately give up to achieve your ultimate goal, what you believe is your ultimate goal? And while this took a supernatural take on it, we all, to a certain extent, have to have that conversation within ourselves as far as what are you willing to give up within your personal life or whoever's around you to get what you believe you ultimately need. Right. And that's what this character really faced. So.
Indeed. And it's one of those situations where it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Because once he finally realized what the situation was, the comedian is the name of the episode that we're referring to, the first one. Samir Watson, played by Kumail Nanjiani of Silicon Valley fame. He's a failing comedian at a comedy club. He's bombing. He sucks. He runs into Tracy Morgan, who plays a character by the name of J.C. Wheeler, who basically tells him, hey, you got to put yourself out there. Like, how bad do you want it? You know, give the audience part of you. So he goes on stage, tells a story about a dog, his dog, but then he goes home and his dog's gone.
Yeah.
And so then he's like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. Like, his dog never existed. Yeah. So then he goes on stage, tells a joke about his nephew. His nephew ends up disappearing. Now he's like, what the fuck?
So now all of a sudden he realizes it doesn't kill people. It literally erases them
as
from
if
existence.
They never existed. Right.
And think about it. If you had that power, you would probably do the same thing. Like, be honest with you.
And he was like, at first he was trying to do good with it. Because if you recall the drunk driver comedian, you know what I'm saying? He's like, you're a fucking piece of shit. Give it up for Joe such and such. And then as soon as he said the name, he was gone.
And he saved like 2 people, he said.
Two people and a baby. I saved the baby. Remember?
I remember that. By the way, real quick, I do appreciate Tracy Morgan in this role as well. Because I'm used to seeing him in comedic roles. Of course, everybody knows from Hustle Man, obviously. But I actually found him like kind of creepy. I actually liked him in this kind of different role.
He was really raw.
He was actually really good.
Weaponize that shit.
Yo, it was like really like unsettling almost. Some of the lines he was saying, I was like, I feel kind of weird. Like, I actually could see him doing some other things. So shout out to Tracy Morgan. Maybe you have some acting chops that we weren't aware of. Who knows?
A lot of the comedians, and word to Jordan Peele, a lot of comedians end up being some of the best dramatic actors. Word to Jim Carrey.
Hey.
You know what I'm saying?
Very true. Very true.
Getting back to the power of responsibility situation, so you know, he starts going through Facebook. He starts like, you know, okay, fuck this guy, fuck this guy, fuck this guy, da 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 da. But then this is where the responsibility part comes in because he started hating on his girlfriend's mentor because he thought they were getting a little too close.
Yep.
So then he goes on stage, tells the joke about him. Poof, he's gone. But oh shit, you done fucked your girlfriend's life up. She was trying to be a lawyer. That was her mentor. Now she doesn't have a mentor.
Yep.
Now she's not a lawyer. Now she has to work at a diner. Now you done lost your girl. And then let me give props to Diara Kilpatrick as Dee Dee Scott.
Yes, I liked her a lot.
I liked
her a
that
lot.
one scene where they found out that they were gonna have the competition to see who's gonna be on the Cower Hour with Candy Cower.
Yep.
And she's in there and she's all like, you know, I worked my ass off for this shit and you were never the shit and now all of a sudden you're the shit. You know what I'm saying? Blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? I'm just gonna back out. No, you were not gonna do that to me.
I like that.
Like, she killed that shit.
She was really good. I liked her in that role throughout the entire episode.
Yeah.
I really liked her character. I thought she was funny. And I thought she was also honest when she was like, nah, I want to beat you on the actual stage so that I know if I get that job,
I earned that shit.
I earned it. I don't want
Word
you to
up.
just give it to me.
Right,
and even that little side comment about like, if I was straight, I would throw you some pussy every now and then. You're so funny. So shout out to the actress. I've never seen her in anything, but she seems really awesome. I want to see her in some other things as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, I like the way it branched off. We'll talk about this at the end, where it sounds like the cycle's going to repeat itself.
Oh, yeah,
AC Wheeler shows up at the end.
Yeah, yeah.
And apparently, he's going to offer the same thing to her.
But not before Samir gets on stage.
Yep.
Now, this is where the shit starts to kind of be like, okay, all right, I guess we're running out of time, so let's blah, 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 blah. When his girlfriend Raina comes in, I found his book. Like, dude, y'all broke up. Where'd you find the book, for one? You know what I'm saying? For two, like, why do you give a shit? You don't fuck with him anymore.
Well, that could be because she still cares about him, but she just wanted to, you know. That one I didn't see much of an issue with.
I mean, it wasn't a game breaker, but at the same time, it was just kind of like, tacked on. Like, you know, how can we get to the end? Which, by the way, was Samir getting on stage and calling himself out on stage.
Which I called halfway. I was like, he's going to end up taking himself out.
I figured it was either going to be him, JC. I didn't think he was going to do it to Dee Dee until they had the conversation, and I was like, okay, I think Dee Dee's safe, just for her to turn out to not be safe. Getting back to what you were saying at the end, when he ends up offering himself, he doesn't exist. The nephew comes back. Dee Dee comes back, so the life goes on without.
Yeah, because if he
Samir.
wasn't there, then she went ahead and she worked with the mentor. She went to law school. Devin, I believe that was the nephew's name. He's still there. So everything works out. I will say this also as a side note. I appreciate the way like they really touched on the supernatural aspects of this, because it wasn't as though they just gave him this awesome material. It's not that they like gave like George Carlin touched down and like gave him this awesome material. No, he just says a bunch of stuff.
People laughed.
And people laughed at it. As long as it was personal, like I could be like, so I talked to my dog today. Like that was what I appreciate about it. It's like even what is it? You saw the girlfriend even laughing her ass off
at the part when when she was talking shit about the mental. She was still like, ha ha.
Because it was personal. So that I appreciate the way that they were like they really emphasized that. Like they were under a spell, pretty much.
Yeah. And then getting back to what you were saying towards the end, when Dee Dee Scott sat down next to J.C. Wheeler, who appeared, you know what I'm saying, to her, and she basically was like, "Can you give me some tips?" And he's all like,
I'm sure I can."
When they were cutting away and they were going back to Jordan to give the wrap up, there was nobody there. Dee Dee was talking to air. I had to run that part back like 3 times to make sure I saw that shit, because I was high as fuck. When I saw, because you have to be high to watch shit like this.
I did not know this. So wait, so that conversation she was having, like he wasn't actually there?
No, like if you when he did the smile, right? Like, and then the camera right here, and then it pans. If you look closely enough, you can see that Dee Dee is talking to air.
And it's funny because if there was any other, now I know Jordan Peele didn't direct the show, but I know he executive produced it.
He's got his hands all over it.
So if it was anybody else, I mean, They messed that up. But you know what? He probably did that on purpose.
Now we have to think, was JC like
ever there?
Right. Like is he like the devil? You know what I'm saying?
That's really interesting. Now I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, dude.
Interesting.
So the first episode, 8 out of 10 for sure. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I
can agree with that. I would kind of the same wavelength. I like the I would agree with that. I think 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. I appreciate that. I also like Kumail. Like he's great in anything he does.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
totally.
yeah.
So the first episode was great, and then we move on to the second episode. Now that had Adam Scott of Parks and Rec fame, playing Justin Sanderson, a investigative journalist with PTSD. He's taking a flight, flight 1015 to Tel Aviv at 10:15 p.m. on 10/15 of whatever year.
Yeah, October 5th, yeah.
He runs into a pilot/fan by the name of Joe, played by Chris Diamantopoulos.
He's also a Silicon Valley rep.
Yeah, man. That guy
funniest-
fucks. Had to put that out there. So basically, the plot with that is they're in the airport. He signs his shit. They go on the plane. Justin sits down. He sees an MP3 player. He listens to the MP3 player, and the MP3 player is basically going to tell him what's going to happen to him.
Yep.
It's predicting the future. It's predicting the demise of Flight 1015. So the whole episode is Justin listening to this podcast, trying to, stop the demise of 1015. But every time he tries to do some shit, he always fucks it up. Like when he ran off, the first thing he did was the bird.
Yep.
Remember, he was like, and then a bird crashed into one of the engines.
And all of a sudden he asks, there was a bird. Of course, they look at him like he's crazy.
Right.
And then the pilot shows him, was like, yeah, it was definitely a bird. So he kind of confirms his theory.
Yeah.
Which, and I know we're going to get to this, but I love the way that he, in trying to prevent the situation from happening, essentially caused the situation to happen.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder, like, had he not sat in that seat? 'Cause remember, he wasn't even supposed to sit in that seat.
That's right, because he gave it up
He gave
to
it
the
up.
family at the beginning. He was supposed to be in first class.
So imagine if he hadn't sat in that seat, would they have noticed the podcast? Like, so all these things happened for a reason. Like, was that flight destined to always crash no matter what occurred? Like, it's all these...
See, there's always
things you can think of.
The unknown. Another situation, if you think you're doing good, just to turn around and fuck shit up at the end.
Yep.
Now, there are definitely some, like, real-life parallels to this. Like, the part where after the bird situation, electronics communication. First people he went up to was those Sikhs.
Oh, yeah, that was
Can
funny.
we turn your device off for a second?
That was funny, by the way.
You realize we're Sikh, right?
That's so funny. Because I watch politics all the time, and I know that a common misconception is people always confuse Sikhs with Muslims.
Yeah.
And I can, if I see a Sikh now, I can definitely know that it's not a Muslim.
Right.
There's some people that they see and they automatically think that. So I like that.
And they're already on a plane.
That was so funny because I saw that coming a mile away, but it's still funny.
So that was dope. So then it goes to, flights and it's like, sit the fuck down.
Yeah.
So then he keeps listening and he's like, let's take a look at the plane manifest. What was his name? Igor Orlov.
Yep.
Was on a flight to Russia to testify against the Russian mob. So he spots two Russian dudes posted up sleeping.
Yep.
He gets the idea to start going through all their shit in their overhead bins. The shit falls down, wakes them up.
Turns out they're just like soccer players.
They're soccer players.
Yeah.
Right. So then he yells out and everybody's all, now they got their phones out like, what the fuck's happening?
Yep.
Such and such and such. And then it's all like, Igor Orlov is gonna get assassinated. So then Igor's like, what the fuck? And then he rushes the cabin. So now they gotta restrain him. So,
yeah.
And it was at that point that he realized, oh shit, yo, I'm a part of this, because that's when the podcast was like Justin
Sanderson.
And so then that's when he pretty much was like, oh, well then I'm justified in what I'm doing. So that's when he goes to the pilot and he's like, please, yo, do not say goodnight, New York. Please don't.
And of course and then that's when we realized that the lady that had been staring at him throughout the entire episode was actually that air marshal.
And remember, he thought Joe was the air marshal.
He thought Joe was the air marshal, but it turns out it was her.
Yeah.
I guess she wasn't trying to make it seem like she was the air marshal.
Which goes back to the assumption shit.
Exactly. Which I thought it was great storytelling, because they planted those seeds, but they never made it obvious. Like, I never once thought, oh, she's the air marshal.
It wasn't,
Here's the part that I guess started to fall apart for me just a little bit. So we go through this thing. He's tied up. We get to the actual pilot, quote unquote, right? Mm-hmm. He's this investigative journalist, right? He's supposed to be like really, really intelligent. Supposed to understand what's going on, understand like there's underlying things, and like people could be lying to him. He had to know that Joe with an E, with the sign, Joe with an E,
right,
was bullshitting him. He like that.
What? How
I
do you
mean, like
figure?
because he like the way he was making it sound was like, okay, so what's the code? Oh, this is the code. Okay, I'm just gonna go in there and I'm gonna turn everybody, like put everybody to sleep, and I'm gonna land the plane. It's gonna be this all like it sounded really BS, man.
It did, but at the same
Like
time,
at some point, man, you had to be like, wait a second.
But remember, you have this podcast telling you like you're the hero. Well, you assume that you're the hero listening to this shit. So you're like, okay, well, I guess this is what it takes for me to be the hero. I'm gonna. What's the code? 1015. Boom, go up to the thing.
That doesn't seem like you don't see. Okay, but
I don't see that as such a negative thing. Like even in my mind, if I'm like, yeah, it might sound off, but again, I'm doing the right thing. So no matter how fucked up the scenario is, as long as the ending is good, as long as we're all alive, then let's do it.
But then again,
so I can excuse that.
I hear you. The difference is everything that he had done up to that point, while he thought it was the right thing, ended up making things worse. So that final decision, I would think, and like I said, I know for story purposes they had to make him do that. It just seemed a little bit.
Explain what ended up happening, just
So basically, he ends up trusting Joe. Joe goes in, puts the code in, takes out the flight crew, locks the door behind him, puts everybody to sleep as he said that he would.
Right.
And ends up saying the "Good night, New York's" line.
Right.
And I guess making himself pass out, or I guess he just laid back and like let it happen.
Right.
And the entire plane ends up crashing.
Don't forget the one line that was comedic as fuck. He looks at the script. Oh, that's the pilot. Fly me to the moon.
That was funny. And I like the way they and if you notice, they actually showed that they played that song at the very beginning of the episode
in the airport.
So once again, they foreshadowed that, which is just excellent again.
Perfect.
But I guess my main issue with the episode, and me and TJ touched on this earlier, was there's no way that entire plane crashes in the ocean and everybody lives, which probably takes it to his theory.
Yeah, see, I think the very last scene, he ends up getting washed on the beach, and it looks like the pilot from Lost, because the plane crashes, we're on the beach here, or whatever. He scrambles to the podcast, or the MP3 player, listens to the podcast, and the podcast basically says that a cargo ship came by, everybody survived except for him. So then he's all like, oh, what the fuck? And then you see, like, they look like zombies, but I guess they weren't. It doesn't really matter. But they basically, all the people on the plane rush Justin. He tries to pick up a rock, but you're not going to 116 people versus one, nah. So they beat the shit out of him. And that was the end of the episode. Now, the theories abound, and this is why I have to take points away from this versus the first episode. Not to say that leaving shit open to interpretation is a bad thing, but if you don't give enough clues to make a logical guess, then, it's... So, my theory was, I think he died, everybody died, and he was in hell. And he's just going to get his ass beat for eternity in hell. And his hell just happened to be, I guess, the end result of his fuck up. That's,
Okay.
People on Reddit have their own theories and whatnot. They thought it was, maybe he did live, and that last scene was like a part of his psychotic hallucination. Because remember, he did have PTSD, which they really didn't go in the background for, which is I'm okay with.
But that's the one key difference, I guess, question that I have is things like that aren't put into episodes for no reason. Like, there's no way that you have this entire conversation at the beginning of the episode in regards to him dealing with this traumatic situation and him going through it, and him now, I guess, supposedly, being okay from it, and I guess he keeps on saying this line of the past is the past. Like, there's no way that is spread throughout the entire episode for it not to mean something. So I guess I'm not saying I know what it means. I'm just saying that there's something deeper. I don't think it's hell, though. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But
if you want to take it to the end of the old episode, they ended up straight. I don't know if it was a straitjacket. I haven't seen it yet. But basically, they took him away to a mental facility. So I guess that's where a lot of people kind of got the idea that maybe it was a part of his psychotic breakdown. You know what I'm saying? But instead of him going into a facility, we're actually seeing what's happening in his head.
And I get that.
But then also, if this is happening in your head, would you really be punishing yourself for eternity?
Like, would you? Because as we stated earlier, you believe that you're the hero,
right?
So wouldn't you think that like the fake ending would be that you're, the plane lands safely and like everybody carries you out on their shoulders,
right?
And then they cut to like you actually being wrapped up in a mental like insanity. Like, wouldn't that be a more like, I guess, that would fall in line more with how his thought process is?
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying with the hell. I don't think it's that. I don't know what it is. I believe because it goes back to this podcast. Like, how do you explain the podcast? How do you explain Joe? How do you explain, like I said, the conversations that he had about PTSD?
But see, this is where suspension of disbelief really plays a part, because this is going to be one of those shows where it's like if you ask too many questions, then you start unraveling things, and then it stops being fun.
And honestly, in my mind, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking because this is the Twilight Zone and we deal with alternate dimensions and time travel and what is it? All these different theories. I think honestly, that's just a podcast that came from a different dimension in a different reality, and he just happened to land upon it. And I don't know.
Yeah. Overall, the first 2 episodes, like I said, I give the first episode an 8. The second episode gets a 7. So that's a 7.5 for the first 2 episodes. I mean, first off, it's really, really good.
It really is.
Like the whole point of this show is to fucking this show here, our show, is to just nitpick the shit out of everything.
Basically.
You know what I'm saying? So don't let this deter you from watching the show, because all in all, it's really good. Like, really Jordan Peele is that dude. Like, all he needs to do is start making records, and he could be Childish Gambino. Basically. With the comedy, with the acting. You know, all he needs is the musical shit, and he's Childish Gambino. You know what I'm saying?
I can see. Yeah, there's definitely similarities between the two. I will say this, like TJ well hit it on. Like, as far as like the technical aspects of it, production value, writing, the acting, all that is top notch. Like, this is definitely worth your time, because just based on those factors alone, like, it's not cheaply made. Like, you can tell they definitely put work, time, sweat, blood, tears into every episode. Yeah, I really do want to see what they do with this show, and I will continue to watch Twilight Zone.
All right, that'll do it, folks. Thank you so much for watching.
I'm Calvin AG.
It's your boy TJ Wild.
What you doing, bro?
Nothing, just chilling. Till next week, y'all. All right. We out.